I'd like to hear your thoughts on resiliency in a changing marketplace. Our messaging in our marketing certainly needs to be able to respond to shifts in our clients' worlds, but our business model may also need to fundamentally change as well. Yeah, I'm going to be leading a call on this, Sean, sometime in May called Commerce During Collapse. Let's see if I can pull up my notes here. You can get the preview. Gosh, there's a few things. One is I think it's just generally important to do an assessment on your business, on where you're strong and where you're weak. I mean, let's just take the seven fundamentals as an example. I mean, it's my personal opinion. We're in for some very rough economic times, rougher than we've lived through in our lifetime in the next few years. So, as we saw during the lockdowns, right? There were a lot of businesses that didn't make it. You all know people. You know the restaurants that didn't make it, the yoga studio that shut down, the holistic practitioner, the life coach who just kind of threw in the towel because it was just too rough. So we all know those people. Let's just, whether you agree with me or not, in my particular assessment, let's just hold the possibility that over the coming years, there could be some rough waters. And what's important to know is that people's generosity with money actually has zero to do with how much money they have. I mean, if anything, it's almost inverse. Homeless people are much more generous percentage wise with their wealth than a billionaire is. But across the board, the degree of generosity will depend on the direction of wealth. If people have more money coming in, they get a lot looser with it. If money is leaving, even if they still have 100 billion, you see what I'm saying? But they lost 50 billion, they still have 100 billion, they suddenly stop spending. It doesn't make any sense logically, but emotionally, that is the thing. So that's just something to know. As things get dicey, people will contract. It doesn't mean they're not spending, but it means now they're thinking about it in a way that they probably weren't before. In the best of times, when people don't have the seven fundamentals lined up, they struggle. That's during good times. And I would submit the businesses that don't have these seven fundamentals, and this isn't a pitch for me. I mean, you work with whoever. There's lots of coaches who help people with all those things. And maybe you don't need a coach. Maybe you can DIY it. But the businesses that don't have those in place are done. It's over. Stick a fork in yourself. You're done. It's going to be important. So just at that level, I think it's really important to just, where am I strong and weak on those things? There's other ways you can evaluate yourself in your business. There's other models, that other people have. There's other models I talk about, but it's a good time to dig deep on those things. And then it is also probably worth thinking about, if we enter a really profound economic recession or an economic collapse, is anyone going to want what I have? Is this going to be a priority? And if not, how will I provide for myself? What will I do? And
Well, this relates to what I think I typed earlier in the chat, that when you were talking about, do you have a business or a hobby? And what I came to is, I'm not sure it's either. It's a mission, which, kind of share some things in common with both a business and a hobby, in that the bottom line is not how profitable this is, but how helpful this is. And when the shit hits the fan, then maybe my business model shifts to, okay, man the lifeboats. How can I help people from drowning? And whether they can pay or not, I'm not going to turn somebody away because they don't have fare for the ferry.
Yeah, and this will probably be different for all of us, given, different situations, what kind of savings we have and all of this. Sometimes you may have to get a job. That
If
may
there are
be,
jobs.
if there are jobs, yeah. And, of course, then there's larger conversations about community and the need to just, know your neighbors and some of the emergency preparedness. I would just say this is probably a good time to do that shopping. I
Yeah.
don't think things are going to be getting cheaper in the next while. So, the cans of herring or the big thing of honey, some salt, some water.
Bucket of beans.
Yeah, a bucket of beans, the peanut butter, whatever it is. Even in the best times, it's good to have this. There's power outages, there's reasons to have it. So I would wish that for you all. I do think it's good to think this stuff through. And a few key points I would say, particularly around niching. If the problem you're solving is not painful and urgent, if the result you're offering isn't something they are urgently yearning for, you're going to be in trouble. The closer, because if it's not like really important and really urgent to them, why would they spend money with you? Why
Right.
would they, like, why would they care, especially when things are tight? And so of course the answer is they wouldn't generally. They
Mhm.
will put it off, humans being the procrastinating creatures that we are. And so then, to get people to buy, then we have to use the manipulative tactics. Then we got to use the kind of adrenaline and the steroids of this, all the bullshit that you're sick of in marketing, because otherwise people don't buy. So it's better to just find a situation where somebody's like, I need help with this right now. If you can
Right.
find
And
them in that moment, yeah.
that relates to what I was saying about maybe pivoting or being resilient might mean shifting my business model. Like, okay, so I still have music lessons available if you're hungry enough for that, but I also do counseling about how to survive a Holocaust. It's like, okay, which one are you shopping for?
Yeah, yeah, and there may be sometimes people will figure ways to go up market. Okay, there's still people who can afford it, and so you find a way to sell to those people. And there's no judgment from my end. I mean, if you got to feed your family, do what you got to do. It's also sometimes you may be offering something that people would consider a luxury, and just really important. You want to find people. You don't want to be convincing people it's not a luxury. That's a bad game to play. Find people who are like, no, this is something I really need. Also, in this time a lot of us as hippies, right? We've got a very strong artist, or inner artist. We know what we want to do. We know how we want to do it. And that taste that we have is what makes us so good. That trust in our instinct. We come up with stuff nobody come up with. As an artist, we're creative. We're putting out offers that people are like, wow, I never even imagined this. This is incredible. And sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't work, and that's how it is being an artist. But during a crunch, I would say the entrepreneur part of us has to be engaged deeply. This is a part of us that we often ignore. We judge pretty harshly, because we just kind of throw it in with the worses of globalist cartel capitalism and exploitation and coercion. And for
Plus, it's not fun. It's not my wheelhouse even.
right. And
But
that
it's
part,
necessary.
yeah, that part of you can save your ass because that part of you is the part that solves problems. That part of you is the part that doesn't start with what do I want to do and how do I want to do it, but who's got a problem I can solve. And if you know there's economic crunch coming, you can think about, okay, well, what would that likely mean for my community and how could I help them? What could I do? But yeah, that entrepreneur part of you is the part that will dial that. Will say, this is the problem I see coming. Also, the more specific you are in your deliverables in general, the more likely people are to buy. If I say I can help you put on muscle, great. But if I say I can help you put on 20 pounds of muscle in the next 6 months, that's way more believable and credible and compelling for people. So aim for as specific a deliverable as you can. Also, lowering risk is a huge deal. Yeah, let's say there's some program you want to sign up for. Now, the program is $10,000. You see the case studies, you get their point of view, and you think, shit, I know this would make me $100,000 over time. But fuck, what if I'm the one it doesn't work for? Because it probably doesn't work for everybody. And if I spend this and it doesn't work, I am fucked. I'm deeply hooped, right? So if the relevance is there, the credibility is there, the value is there, but there's this risk. So in good economic times, people are going to be a lot more willing to take that kind of a risk. In tight times, that willingness goes down to almost zero. So, but then what if they said this? They said, look, it's a $10,000 program. We know this is a big risk on your end. So here's what we're going to suggest. First of all, if by halfway through this program, you don't feel like you've already made $10,000, we will refund the full amount plus $1,000 out of our own pocket. You will make money on this investment. Suddenly it's like, or, we'll offer you double your money back. We'll give you the 10,000 you spent plus 10. Suddenly it's like, okay, I'm willing to take the risk. It still may not work out, but if it doesn't work out, they've got me covered. So really think about the risk. What are the risks that people perceive in doing business with somebody like you? And then how could you address that? Now, the risks may be economic, there may be other types of risks, but that's a huge thing. And then the last thing I would say too around these times is, boy, being distracted right now is understandable because it's so insane and you just want to turn your brain off and scroll endlessly and the distraction will hurt you. In these times, boy, this is really an all hands on deck situation and like all parts of us on deck and distracting ourselves on social media and all these things, which I know we all do, and there it is. But this can be a very galvanizing time. You can discover things about yourself that you didn't know during these kinds of times. It's the forest fire that cracks the seeds open that otherwise would be closed. That's available during these times. And then do all the prep that you need to do. So those are my thoughts.